Hello and welcome to Simplify TV, the web series and podcast for agencies, brands, and media buyers. I'm David McBee. Our guest today is Matt Crenshaw, CEO of Nova, a leading provider of creative automation between digital ad channels. Matt has been leading media and technology organizations for over 20 years, spanning digital media and television. Prior to Nova, he ran the U.S. business for Outbrain, helping build native advertising into a channel for agencies, brands, and publishers to build their revenues. Matt also spent 7 years at Discovery Communications, where he ran digital marketing, analytics, and business development for all of Discovery properties. Matt, welcome to Simplify TV.
David, it's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. All right. So there's a lot of talk about, creative automation and AI in a lot of the interviews that I have, obviously in the news. Um, how much of it is real and what's something that agencies can do right now to take advantage of it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's hard to believe it's only been about 15 months since we all got our hands on ChatGPT, and the idea of AI really became real, something we could put our hands on, we could see and say, this feels like magic. And so I think when we talk about AI, a lot of agencies and people in marketing, they're thinking about generative AI because that's where all the press is going. And generative AI, basically typing in a prompt and creating any type of media, is exciting, but it's still fraught with problems, right? It's still something that requires a ton of human oversight. There are safety issues, copyright issues that have to be worked out. So it feels like we're in this in between. We can kind of see a fuzzy picture of what's coming in the future, but it's not quite here yet. In terms of what's here now, there's a different way to think about AI that has much more immediate and practical applications. And that's AI that can take one thing that's working and make it work in new places. And that's what my company Nova does effectively, as you said, sort of automating ad creative in one channel into another channel. So making it seamless, moving from a social post to an ad that is on a publisher site and online video, CTV, which we're going to be talking about. So yeah, we think of this not as generative AI, but almost like regenerative AI. So how you can bypass all the short-term challenges with AI by focusing on regenerating what's working in one place into another space instead of inventing stuff from scratch, which is exciting, but still brand new.
I like that term, regenerative AI. For people who are unfamiliar with what we're talking about, let's just drive right into the basics. Imagine I'm a client and I want to reuse a social media post that was really effective. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, what happens is, brands are putting all of this money, all of this attention into social media. In your example, you're a client who has a social media post. It's gone through all the approval channels. You love it. You've gotten great feedback on it. You can see all the metrics about what works so well. What Nova allows you to do is in under 2 minutes, convert that social post into an ad that can run on desktop, it can run on mobile, it can run in online video, it can run on CTV, it can run on digital billboards. So making it super easy to take that social post and bring it to life with new audiences in new places. That's never been possible. We tend to think of social as it happens on social. We're changing that definition, thinking about social as a type of content that you can put anywhere.
So I can pretty easily imagine that in a display environment. But let's talk about what that looks like on CTV, especially considering most social videos are vertical video. So what does that look like on a big screen?
Yeah, great question. So, the idea behind social CTV is simple enough. How do you take a social post, put it on the big screen? But you talked about this with vertical video on big horizontal screens. It's not always a one-to-one fit. So, what we've done is on top of our technology that automates the creation of the CTV ad, and we're talking about production-ready TV ads on the big screen, is created a bunch of different templates so that you can pull in square videos, horizontal videos, vertical videos, often with a QR code on one side, a caption, brand information, some kind of call to action. I think we've all seen these vertical videos on our TVs as we're watching streaming services. So there's a lot of potential, even though it looks like a challenge at first blush, a lot of creative potential to take vertical video and bring it to CTV. The technology's there. The only challenge now is finding, building great designs and great templates that users love and advertisers feel like tells their story.
You mentioned QR codes with CTV, and that's kind of a hot topic as well. Does it work? Do people really scan those things?
Yeah, it's a great question, and so much as it looks natural, like we as marketers we think about, oh, there's a call to action, that's got to be a good thing. It's turning this ad into a direct response type of ad. We're not seeing a ton of engagement, and if you think of scan rates being an equivalent of like a click through rate on a digital ad that you'd see on your phone or on desktop, the scan rates are nowhere near those numbers. That said, it's something a lot of clients lean into. They like that there's a sense of users having to take action. It puts users in the frame of mind of leaning in and thinking about getting more information. And of course, some people do scan, but it's not something we see strong, consistent behavior around.
As someone who's been in the display world for a little over a decade, and display ads don't get really super high click-through rates either, especially compared to like Google AdWords.
Mhm.
I'm always cautious about talking about CTR as the metric on which to base the success of a campaign. I can't imagine. I imagine having to really educate an advertiser to say, sure, we can put this QR code in there and it will generate some results, but it's not how you should measure the effectiveness. Is that the conversation as you see it?
It's actually the opposite. So
Oh, okay.
no, what you're saying makes perfect sense to me. I've been around a lot of different forms of advertising for many years and display as well. It's people feel like because it's available, it's something they should run, and any scans still feel kind of like it's more than zero, so it's something. Even though, I think it's clear that the engagement of the ad is not entirely a function of the scan rate. So people feel like, look, if I can build the ad, cut out production costs, it looks good, it's exciting. Not everybody's going to scan, but anybody who does scan, it's kind of a nice extra. So I think the expectation is just different than what people are accustomed to with display ads.
That makes sense because QR codes are new to the world. Clicks are old school, so they kind of expect clicks, but I get it. Okay, so the QR code is kind of an extra. Do you have kind of a generic scan through rate? Like how many people are clicking or are scanning these things?
Yeah, the answer with any kind of user behavior number is it depends. But to put us in the ballpark, we see about 0.005%, right? So below what people are below click through rates on standard display. We do talk to, I know it's a lot of zeros. It's like
No, I
you have
was
to,
just trying to figure out, how many is that? Like 1 in 20,000?
yeah. So it's very, very few. But you think about how you watch TV, and it's probably not too surprising. Um, so yeah, those numbers relative to other types of ads in terms of just lean in direct response engagement are still pretty low, but it varies a lot. We're still in the very early days of this. I think in terms of how users engage with their TVs, but also we see a huge jump in scan rates based on different calls to action. If there's some kind of incentivized call to action, something beyond just learn more or shop now, which are kind of the new basics, right? Something that's a little bit more exciting, more tailored, more clear on how users are going to get value by scanning, that drives the scan rates up.
So maybe like entering a contest or getting a discount.
Exactly. Exactly. Those are two great examples we've seen that you can drive up scan rates quite a bit.
Also, I'm just going to throw in a pet peeve here is when I see that QR code in the last few seconds of the commercial and I'm trying to get my phone out and it's gone. Like, do you suggest that the QR code exists the entirety of the commercial?
If not the entirety, it obviously depends on the length of the commercial, but we do, talk to people about you've got to leave it on the screen for longer. And sometimes people look at it and go, yeah, but it's clear that it's there. People know what to do with it. And what you're describing, you're not the only one. Yeah.
All right. So, generally speaking, what advice do you have for agencies and media buyers and brands when it comes to, getting their social out side of the walled gardens of Meta and TikTok and Snap, and placing them in these environments like the rest of the web and streaming TV. What general advice do you have for folks?
Yeah, general advice is one, experiment. Most brands have a ton of social content. We make it easy to create lots of versions of an ad, to import, multiple creatives. A lot of people do it once and say, "Wow, that's great. I'm running a social post on the open web." To your point, and it's like, no, no, like put 10 in a campaign, like see what works. There isn't a clear line between exactly what engages people on social and exactly what drives click-through rates or brand uplift on the open web. So you have to experiment. But we see the social icons, the social formats, that level of familiarity, and seeing something surprising in a new environment, which is what happens when you see a clear Instagram video, but it's on a publisher website, let's say. That grabs people's attention, which is what we're all about in advertising. So knowing that, just to experiment and test and see what works.
All great advice. This has been really, really terrific. Matt, before I let you go, I like to ask all of my guests if they have a favorite podcast or a book that has been instrumental in their success.
It's as I think about books, I go all the way back. There's a book, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, that I think it was written in the 70s. I think about this a lot with all the technological change we're going through. It seems like the rules of human psychology and marketing are more bedrock than ever. So it's a good way to get back to basics. So highly recommend that book. Somebody could read the entire book in an hour, so it's not a huge time investment.
I love it when my guests bring out the old school stuff, and some of the best stuff came out of the '70s. Let's be honest.
Not just books.
All right. So, what is the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just go to search me, Matt Crenshaw, CEO of Nova, and that's the best way to get in touch.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Matt, so much for being my guest today.
David, thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. Simplify TV is sponsored by Simplify, helping you to maximize relevance and multiply results with our industry-leading media buying and workflow solutions. For more information, visit simply.fi. Thanks for joining us today. I'm David McBee. Be awesome, and we'll see you next time.